We'd like to welcome everybody to our first episode of Inside Georgia High School Football. We're filming live here at Stars and Strikes. I'd like to thank the team at Stars and Strikes and Randy Riggs for posting this and putting it on. Be sure and book all your events and special parties here with Randy at Stars and Strikes. Today's Inside Georgia High School Football episode is going to be a Paulding County edition. We're going to talk to all 5 head coaches for the Paulding County teams, and then we're going to talk to a few of their key players from each team. We'll start the show off today with the newest addition to our Paulding County family, Coach Van Spence. Coach, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Glad to be here.
Coach Van Spence has taken over the Paulding County program. Coach, you started at McEachern in your coaching career, and you've been there for quite a while. Talk a little bit about your path to McEachern.
Well, I graduated. Actually, the great thing about it is you kind of know you're led to be somewhere, and as a teacher, you have to do all your student teaching and everything else. And I did that at McEachern, and I just rolled in, very fortunately. Steve Jones, who's the county athletic director for Cobb now, I worked under him. He took a job at other places, and I fell right in his spot. And I never left McEachern until March of this year. I was there for 14 years, so it was a great experience.
So you got to coach under Coach Dorsey and Coach Hockman.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about some of the differences between, coaching under Coach Dorsey and some of the new things under Coach Hockman.
Well, Coach Dorsey, 22 years old, gave my first job. He taught me what it means to be a professional. Be on time, be organized, be prepared. Things that I think, sometimes people aren't trained up on that at a young age. But I was very fortunate to learn, if you want to be successful, this is the path you must follow. And, I was with him for 7 years. And then he left, and I was one of the few guys that stayed at McEachern and worked with Kyle. And, Kyle, I really grew as a coach. He gave me my first ever coordinator job. And Kyle, I think the world of him. And he just made me, I think I'm sitting here because of what Kyle Hockman taught me the last 7 years. And in the previous 7 years, I think the reason we'll be successful at Paulding County is because of the professionalism that Coach Dorsey coached me up or trained me up at a young age. Okay.
So under Coach Hockman, y'all have gone to a different offense than y'all used. Tell me a little bit about the offense McEachern used to run, what they're running now, and kind of lead into what might be what we see at Paulding County in the future.
Well, Coach Dorsey was wing T. Wing T is about as quality of a wing T coach that you can find. He used to run his wing T camps. So, that was what I did for 7 years. Coached quarterbacks the majority of my time there. Kyle came in and we put in the pistol, which is this version of the spread.
Right.
And similar things. So you got to block, you got to tackle, but it's just different different emphasis of certain things. And what we've done here at Paulding is we've adapted what we did the last 7 years at McEachern to what fits our skill set. And it'll be very similar. We'll be in the pistol, gun, and try to make people defend sideline to sideline.
I kind of figured we'd see some of McEachern's offense when you came over to Paulding County. Now, some impressive things at McEachern. You got elected the 2015?
I think it was 12 or
13. Yeah. Offensive Coordinator of the Year, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about it. I know you had some impressive points productions. Tell me about the points productions from the.
Well, as we well know, it's the Jimmys and Joes, not the X's and O's. But we were very fortunate. We had some kids that bought in great junior and senior classes that were kind of, those guys had big goals, and they came to work every single day. And like I said, we had multiple threats, and that allowed us to score a lot of points. But the key is the kids were so detail-oriented. If we said we got to tweak things, they did it. They were on it. They understood film study, and I think that's what allowed us to be very productive.
And so that's the kind of thing you're wanting to carry over.
Oh, yes,
to
sir.
Paulding County.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know you put 451 one year, 452. I think those were both McEachern school records for points produced. Tell me a little bit about your Paulding County experience so far. The kids, how things have meshed together, how you feel the direction of the program's going so far. I know it's early, but you've had the summer to start working with them. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen so far.
Well, the leadership is from the school. Mr. Wilcox, new principal, Mr. Watkins, our athletic director. They have been 100% supportive. They're very supportive of our goals, our vision, and they've allowed us to bring in quite a few coaches. I think we're going to have 8 new coaches at Paulding County this year, including myself. So that's allowing us to kind of change, not that what was going on in the past was wrong, just change what we want. And, the kids of Paulding County, those kids are phenomenal young men. They understand what it means to work, and we're doing our very best to push them to understand, hey, if you want something, you have to go get it. And this summer, I was there right before spring. Spring, we threw a ton at them. New offense, new defense. We threw a ton at them, and they, we just said, stay the goal, focus on the process, not so much the outcome at the moment. They got it, and this summer we've been going 3 and 4 days a week. I've seen growth. Really proud of our quarterback, Brantley Malden. He is really taking what we're doing to heart, and he's really growing. And when your trigger man's that kind of guy, it makes me, as a coach, feel very confident in what we can do. And the other kids, there's a lot of growth.
Right.
And I kept saying at camp, we were FCA camp last week, I was like, small victories will lead to big things. And last week we improved daily, and that's what I'm looking at right here. We have got to get better every time we're together.
Now, Brantley's a rising junior this year.
Sir.
Yeah, he put up some impressive numbers last year.
He did.
He had over 500 yards passing in one game, which set a Georgia high school football record. I think it got broke later in the season, didn't it? But it was pretty impressive what he did. Now, talk a little bit about some of your key players going into the season. I know we got a couple of your guys here today. Talk about those guys and the role they're going to play for you, and then your view of the region that you're in. Okay. With the changes in the add in 7A and Paulding County actually going down a region, even though we're staying in 5A, you actually went down a region. Talk a little bit about that too, if you would.
Well, some of our key players, are 2 of them that are here tonight. We got Trey Lewis, who last year he played a little bit of everything. Right. And my goal for him, I said, why don't we dial in on one thing and be great at it? And he's going to carry the load for us at running back. He'll also be very active in the special teams game. Malik Branch, who's also here with us, he played safety last year, but we moved him down to Sam backer. And Malik and Trey have done a great job this summer of being at everything, trying to assume a leadership role. We've got Deontay Ruffin, who's probably, I would say, our most offered kid. He's a cornerback. He's got a ton of Division I offers, but he is just a superior athlete. And he is really also taken to what I'm trying to do out there, and assuming a leadership role as well. We're very youthful on the offensive line, but we do have a couple seniors that we're going to rely heavily on. Brantley, as we talked about previously, we're counting on him, but we have 0 starts amongst our tight end and wide receivers. So this has been a great. I'm glad I got there before spring. It has allowed us to really kind of build some unity and build some relationships as far as where we need to be on certain pass routes and things like that. Now,
did Ruffin play some wide receiver
he
before?
Did.
Is he number 6?
Yes, sir, he is.
I think I've seen him play some wide receiver.
He's special. We'll work him in there. We're trying to keep offense and defense so kids can really get honed in on what we need them to do, and then we're going to cross-train some of those guys like Deontay, and Malik will get some cross-training stuff. And then, like I said, we've got a couple talented defensive kids I'm looking forward to. Sean McMahon is going to be a junior. He played defensive end for us. Really worked hard in the weight room. Brenton Ballard, another young man who's
I've known Sean and Gil a long time.
And those guys, they've worked really hard. They're really doing a good job. I mean, quite frankly, I'm not trying to name drop everybody, but Sean McMahon, Brenton Ballard, Tanner Hambrick, and Christian Wilson are just 4 guys that have really done a nice job to solidify our defensive line. So I'm excited about them. So as far as the region goes, if you love competition, then this is the right place to be.
That's right.
There's quality programs in this county. You're talking to these coaches, everybody's working. They all, it's very obvious. We all have a vision, which I think that makes a huge difference. But then you add some of the people from the outside. Carrollton's a powerhouse traditionally, and then Cale does what Cale does, and then we also have Rome, which a lot of people are talking up Rome, but they're very talented. Coach Reed does a phenomenal job. And then personally, I've had a chance to see Cass this summer, and they're doing pretty good. I really like what I saw from them. But this region, you have got to focus week to week.
Yeah,
that's what our kids.
I was looking at the new 5A layout, and I think it was Region 1 and 7 are just loaded for bore. The other regions there were a couple regions that didn't even have a team with a winning record last year, but our region, of course, has the highest winning percentage of any region in 5A football.
Oh, it's a dogfight. It'll be, and you know what, and I've talked to our coaches and I've talked to our kids, every time you're in this weight room or you're in film study, understand that this region is tough, and if your goal is to make the playoffs, which that is a goal of ours, you cannot look ahead. You have to be week to week, because every single week is going to be a dogfight.
Right. Well, Coach, I'm excited about the season for you. It's good to see you here in Paulding County. I look forward to watching you play and talking to you throughout the season. We appreciate you coming on to Inside Georgia High School Football.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you throughout the season.
Appreciate you having me.
That's Coach Van Spence from Paulding County. Up next, we're going to have Coach Scott Jones from North Paulding after a short break. Okay. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to Inside Georgia High School Football. Up next on our coaching carousel is Coach Scott Jones from North Paulding High School. Welcome, Coach Jones. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Mike.
Tell me a little bit about your coaching history. I know about it, but let's tell the people out there a little bit about your coaching history and your time at Kennesaw and the time before that.
Well, I was an assistant to begin with for almost 10 years at North Cobb High School, and got my first head football job at South Cobb. I was there for 5 years, 95 to 2000. And then in 2000, I helped open up Kennesaw Mountain High School, and I was the head coach there for 10 years.
Right.
And then took a leave from there and went to North Cobb as an assistant for 2 seasons, and then been at North Paulding as a head coach ever since.
Now, Kennesaw, you left your mark there a little bit, didn't you?
Well, yeah.
I think the stadium's named Scott Jones Stadium, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird going over there seeing my name up there. Usually, I thank you. That's for people that's passed away. But,
I know.
But it was very honoring, and I appreciate them doing that for me.
I remember when we went out there, I was still at North Paulding at the time. I remember asking you after the game, it's kind of weird to play against Kennesaw in a stadium with your name on it.
Well, especially on the sideline,
right.
I mean, on the visitor side looking at
Looking at your name the whole game.
Yeah, it's kind of eerie.
So you came into North Paulding, had some pretty successful seasons right off the get-go. I believe you had an 8-4 campaign the first year.
Right.
And then the second year you ended up in the quarterfinals against a very strong Creekview team. Talk a little bit about those 2 years and why they were so special.
Well, they were. I mean, we had some very talented kids, and really got into a momentum thing, with that, winning ways there early. But fortunately, everything kind of worked out for the best there. But we bit off a big one when we played Creekside. They eventually went on to win the state championship. But that was really, really good. And it was mainly the athletes that we had. Our skill kids were phenomenal, but that was a good start. And then jump in classifications. Obviously, that all those A's matter. I promise you that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember watching that Creekside game, and Coach, that Creekside team was probably one of the best high school football teams I think I've ever watched. They were all over the place.
Mm-hmm. They had them Berry brothers, and I tell you, they were special.
What was impressive though is that y'all beat Stevenson to get to that game, and Stevenson was yet another one of those programs with 10 or 12 D1 players already committed. So that was real impressive. Now, you talked about the moving up in classifications. That's definitely made it more difficult moving up into that higher classification, and now you're into 7A, which is the big boy classification. Last year, you started off with 4 really tough, teams right out the gate. You ended up, who did you start off with the first game?
Well, I mean, we played 3 state championship teams last year.
Right.
I mean, you got, Allatoona and Cartersville, and then Colquitt, ranked
Right.
number 2 in the country at the end. But right out of the gates, I mean, when we play in the East and playing a lot of the teams, I mean, it was a gauntlet.
You had
and then
Archer.
you get into Archer, and then you get into the region. We play Archer in the Corky Kell Classic. And then we get in the region, it's back to back to back. You got Keacher, North Cobb. I mean, it's you better be ready, because everybody's coached well, and there's a lot of talented young men out there.
Yeah, like Coach Spence was saying earlier about Jimmy's and Joe's. There's a lot of Jimmy's and Joe's in 7A. We're like the second smallest school in there, and we're sitting at less than 2,100, and a lot of the schools that we'll be playing are 2,800, and that's a lot bigger athletic pool to pick from, and so, with numbers, you got options, and so, but anyway, we're going to get there. We're growing. Right. Well, you did have, you had some guys last year that have moved on to the next level. You had a good signing class of Division I athletes, and looks like you got several more on this upcoming class they're going to help you to continue forward. Tell me a little bit about your region, some of the teams you think are going to be the real challenges for you, and how you feel like the team is developing going into this year.
Well, I mean, obviously, year in and year out, McEachern is going to be probably the front runner when it comes to talent. North Cobb, from what I understand, they have 7 Division I players over there. Marietta has a new coach, and I understand that has really done a good job of getting his kids ready in the off season, and so it's going to be tough. We're very young this year. We'll have probably 7 or 8 underclassmen on offense and 8 underclassmen on defense. But with that, a lot of these kids played last year as freshmen and sophomores, and so experience is you can't. There's no exchange for experience. So we've got it, but week in and week out, it's going to be a challenge. We've got to stay healthy, and there ain't no weeks off. We got to bring our A game. If we don't, we'll get snot beat out of it.
I think every team in Paulding County is going to be young this year. Just kind of looking around the county,
that's what I've heard.
The coaches.
Yes.
I think we're going to have a lot of young, fresh talent on the football fields on Friday night.
Right.
Now, talk a little bit about some of your key players. A couple of them are here tonight.
Right.
Talk about some of the guys that are here tonight and some of the guys that are going to be stepping into major roles for you throughout the season.
Well, we graduated, like you said earlier, some kids. DJ Owens going to Tulane, and our quarterback from last year, he's going to Middle Tennessee. Kyle Banks, and then Alton Reef, big tight end we had, he ended up at NC State. So replacing those kids is, obviously something that I don't know if we can completely replace them, but we have some kids that are going to step in there and hopefully do a good job for us. We got a brand new quarterback. He was our JV quarterback last year. He's just going to be a sophomore, Ross Malgrim, and he's done a great job. Had a great off season, and he's developing just fine. The three young men we have here tonight or today with us is Kyle Bird, linebacker, and Braylon Fisher. He's also a linebacker, and they started for us last year as sophomores, and they're physical kids. They get after it, and they're really the anchor for our defense. And they've grown a lot. They've done a good job in the offseason. They put on 15 or 20 pounds, and so we're looking for a big year from those two. And then I have Chad Terrell here. He's a big wide receiver, and he's got a lot of college attention right now. And so those 3 guys, offensively, he's going to be the go-to guy for the most part. But we've got some more talented people around them. Zion Hawkins is also a rising sophomore for us who played a lot last year as a freshman in various roles, and he's going to be very important because right now he's probably our only two-way player, and he's talented enough and durable enough that hopefully can do that. He'll be playing safety and H receiver for us, but defensively I feel like we're going to be better. We look better. We're running around. We've got some a lot of returning young players who played last year that have another year under their belt. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that junior and sophomore class you have is chock full of talent. I know the sophomore class, if I'm not mistaken, is that group that won the state championship in GMSAA that year. Is that correct?
They did, and a lot of those kids. Ross was he was a freshman last year, but we started him as a JV quarterback.
Right.
And he's got a pretty good record under his belt from 6th grade to now.
Right.
So he knows how to win and he knows how to lead, and so we're expecting that from him. But he's surrounded by a lot of players too, and that's why they won the state championship a few years ago. So we're counting on them. And again, they're still young. I mean, it's. Every year of experience is huge, and so when you're young, there's some bumps in the road that are going to take place, and so that's expected. But we want to try to mature as fast as we can, but so there's not too many bumps in the road.
So what do you think is going to be the key to turning that page this year? If you were going to say this is the thing that we have to focus on as a team to turn that page in this 7A this big region we're in now.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think we've got to play good defense. You know, I mean, the fact is this: we haven't played good defense. I mean, good, solid, year-long defense since I've been at North. And
it was nobody. It was before you got there too.
And it's it's nobody's. It's just we've had a lot of skill players. We've had a lot of I mean, we just outscore people.
Right.
Or not and lose. But honestly, we're excited about defense. Got a new defense coordinator. Chad McGee doing a great job. Got a new offensive coordinator, Aaron Nance, doing a great job. And so, we just need to play better defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's what wins championships. Everybody knows that. Everybody says that. But, we just didn't have those kinds of kids in the past. Or we would try to manufacture defensive players from offensive player
right.
skill sets, and it hadn't been too good to us. So, but we're excited about the defense.
I think some of the issues with defense when you're a spread or a Tony Franklin type team is that they practice against a spread and Tony Franklin type team all the time,
mm-hmm.
and then it's the running teams that
right.
give you fits when it comes to facing a power eye
right.
or somebody that's running
mm-hmm.
wing T or something like
right.
that. The guys aren't used to that, facing that in practice.
Physicality.
Yeah,
I mean, you get hit in the mouth, and you don't see that every day in practice. I mean, so. Which brings me to, we're going to try to run the football more,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to try to, be more physical like that. But, again, that's something that we're going to have to get better at every practice, every day,
Well, I'm glad that at least moving up to the highest region, you're still able to keep some of the in-county rivalry games. We don't want to lose some of those
That's
games.
right.
We're losing south to a couple of the in-county rivalry games, mm-hmm. but you're playing east still this year. Do you have any other in-county games?
We're playing Paulding East and South. I mean Paulding East, and we're playing Hiram in a scrimmage. So we're excited about that. We had other options with a couple of Cobb County schools, but we definitely didn't want to do that. We keep it in-county rivals and just some good old wholesome local football, mm-hmm. and that's fun. That's fun for everybody.
I tell you what, when WSB was at that Northeast game last year,
wow.
they said it was like a college atmosphere.
Oh, it was.
They had closed the gates again.
Oh yeah.
They had to shut down the gates. There was
it's
full capacity.
That's what football, high school football is about right there.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on to the show.
Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck this upcoming season. That's Coach Scott Jones, head coach at North Paulding High School. Next up, we're going to have Coach John Lindsay from East Paulding High School after a short break. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, guys, welcome back to Inside Georgia High School Football. Again, the Paulding County Coaches Edition. Now we're here with the head coach for East Paulding High School going into his second year, Coach John Lindsay. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Appreciate you having me.
So, Coach, we talk a little bit throughout the year in Inside Raider Nation. Tell me a little bit about, and tell everybody out there about your coaching history and kind of your path of how you came to East Paulding.
Well, it's a long way in a lot of different schools. First started at East Paulding High School. Actually, it was my first job in 1998, and moved over to Cobb County after that and worked with Coach Jones at a couple different places, South Cobb High School and at Kennesaw Mountain High School, and left there and got a chance to come back to Paulding County again and worked at Hiram High School for my old principal, or for one of my old coaches who was the principal there, Marty Turner. So I was there for a couple seasons, and then got a chance to move down south. I always wanted to coach down in the Region 1 area. At the time, 5A was the largest classification. So moved down to Camden and stayed there for 6 years, and was able to have a lot of success, and was promoted from assistant coach to defensive coordinator while I was there, and got the itch to be a head coach, and got a chance to go over to Irwin County after that, which is in deep South Georgia, and left there after 3 seasons and a semifinal appearance, and went over to Cook County, which is right below, and stayed 1 year, and had a couple of things come about personally. My son broke his leg, and some things went on that year. I enjoyed my time at Cook, but got an opportunity to come back home to East Paulding, and here I am. While I was at Cook, we won the region championship that year, went 9-3, and got beat in the second round 7-0. So really had things I felt like cooking there, at Cook. So
cooking at Cook, huh?
That's right. And then this past season, I'm back here at home at East Paulding.
Right now, I know there were a lot of people that were real excited when you came home to East Paulding. At Camden County, you got a little bit of a taste of a state championship. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that and some of the things you think that you're going to be bringing to East Paulding to try to bring that state championship to a Paulding County school?
Well, the biggest thing I realized is that, winning a state championship, that team doesn't just show up and win it that year. It starts a long time before that. And it starts with your kids having the right mindset and you as a coach having things in place, such as strength and conditioning program, having your coaches, longevity of coaches, and having the same staff. Those are things that, you just can't manufacture that. They just don't happen. It takes time to build that. And I told the kids this past summer, and I really believe it in my heart, you show me a team that doesn't have any leadership, and they usually have very few wins. And I've experienced that. I've experienced that kind of team before. You show me a team that's coach-led, and I'll show you an average team. And I kind of felt like, I hate to say this, we were that team last year at East Paulding. We were coach-led. We were constantly trying to get the kids to do certain things to be successful, and we were having to lead them. And therefore you wind up with, 8 wins. And I feel like the teams that we had that won state championships when I was at Camden, they were player-led. You didn't have to tell those kids. They knew where they were supposed to be, doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were making sure the others around them were doing those things. So, when you have a championship caliber team, it is a player-led team. They're all in it together. Some of the best teams I've ever coached have been a part of, have been teams that didn't have the best of players, but they played well. The chemistry was there, and it was a player-led team.
Right. So that's what you're trying to develop is player-led
That's right.
teams.
That's right, and that's why it takes years.
Right.
You don't just do that in 1 year. You don't really do it in 1 or 2. It's 3+ most of the time.
Right, because you can't, just like with anything else, it's hard to undo bad habits.
That's
it's
right.
hard to come
That's
in
right.
and just snap your fingers.
That's right.
And change a culture or bad habits that are already
And
created.
football has so many moving parts. I mean, you're talking, we've got 30 kids in our program, 9 through 12, and 13 coaches, so that's a lot of people to get moving in the right direction, and it don't just happen overnight.
Right. Now tell me a little bit, so your first 2 games last year, you came in, a lot of excitement. First 2 games, we started out the gate with Altoona, eventual state champions. We ended up winning that game, and we played North Paulding. Tell me a little bit about the atmosphere of those 2 games compared to what you had seen in South Georgia. Was it comparable? Was it, I remember you saying it was like a college atmosphere when you were talking, or a playoff atmosphere when you were talking to the team in a pregame speech. Talk a little bit about the first 2 games and your first experience at East Paulding.
Yeah, those 2 games were great. I mean, they were high-level games. It was like a playoff caliber, atmosphere, and I was really excited. Our kids were really excited, and we came out of the gate doing what we'd worked on all summer long, and since I'd gotten to East Paulding, and I think our kids kind of had that one marked on the calendar, to be honest with you. I think they had that one and the North marked on the calendar, because after those games I didn't quite see the same football team that I wanted to see. I kind of felt like they set a goal. Their goal was to beat Altoona and to beat North. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, I've tried to change that mentality this season, because I want every game to be important. I want us to look at more than just, even though we're not playing Altoona anymore, but look past just who's in our area as far as, how do we compare up? How do we look against Waycross? How do we look, against some teams that are, in deep South Georgia? How do we match up? So, those first 2 games, I think our kids had a mark. We were a player-led team at that point. You could, those kids, like I said, that's the example of a player-led team. I think those first 2 games, our kids, they wanted to take care of business, and we did.
And then we hit a little bit of a stumble with South Paulding, and the team recovered. Recovered. We had a good season, but like I said, I think those first 2 games there was an energy and an excitement that really, till we got to the playoffs, you just didn't. We talked about it a couple of times. Just didn't feel it like we did those first 2 games. So you had a successful first year, like I said, 8-2, first round against Lanier. We faced a formidable foe in Lanier in that first playoff game. Tell a little bit about that game and your first playoff experience with East Paulding.
Well, it was, obviously our first goal is to make the playoffs. That's our very first goal when we start the season. We set that goal to make sure we're in the playoffs, because once you get in the playoffs, it's a new season. At that point, it's a brand new season. Everybody's 0-0, really and truly. But we had a tough draw there with drawing Lanier right off the bat. They had the Georgia High School Player of the Year, and he was obviously a great player, went on to Auburn. But his supporting cast was awesome too. The other defensive end on the other side right now is getting looks from major colleges. Alabama looking at him. I think he might have even gotten an offer, and they had several. Their quarterback is a big-time player, and I felt like we played them well. We made some mistakes, and you can't make mistakes like that in that game. Being a 4 seed, when you're a 4 seed and you're playing a 1 seed, you have to play mistake-free.
Yeah, you got to play perfect. Well, we have some holes to fill from last year, obviously. Talk a little bit about some of the kids that have moved on, and some of these kids, you got a couple of them here today that are going to fill those holes. You got a couple players that are going to be key impact players with us today. Talk a little bit about some of that, if you would.
We've had a fabulous off season. Our seniors that left us this past year, once we looked around in the weight room and those guys were gone, we had some kids that started taking pride in our weight room and in our off-season work, and I feel like that that's really going to propel us into this season. I've been preaching to them all year long that a lot of our sophomores are going to have to play. We're old, but we're young. It's kind of funny the way that works, but we'll have 2 or 3 sophomores that'll probably wind up starting before it's all said and done. And when you do that, there's some growing pains there. But luckily, we've got a very talented sophomore class coming up, so those kids will have to play. Our junior class, it's a small class. It's got some players I felt like that we're being able to develop in our weight room and in our program, that are developing. So, going into this season, losing some of those guys, we lost, our defensive line. We lost everybody but Cam Foster on the defensive line, and it's just tough to replace our secondary. And at linebacker, we lost a lot of guys.
4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line.
So
we lost both running backs.
We've got a lot to replace. I'd give anything to have, a couple of those veteran running backs back.
Right.
Just missing those guys. We had a ton of them last year, and just it's kind of one of those years where you just got to replace. But we'll have to play young guys, and there'll be some mistakes early. But I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to this season. And I'm very optimistic because it's going to be fun watching them grow up. That's what I'm most excited about, is just seeing those guys grow because, I keep trying to prepare the coaches. This scrimmage game, we've got North Cobb in a scrimmage, and I know you'll probably want to talk a little bit about who we're playing, but we've got North Cobb right now has 7 Division I offered kids. Right. So our scrimmage game, it's going to be David versus Goliath. Well, luckily we don't really keep score, and it's just a scrimmage game, but they're going to prepare us well. But these young kids,
they're getting thrown right in the fire.
Yeah, so it's going to be right off the bat getting in with big time football. So we'll kind of know where we're at. Harrison, they're the largest school in 6A.
Right.
So
you're opening right up with Murderers Row.
Yeah.
North Cobb, Harrison, North Paulding.
And North Paulding, there's your big rival.
7A schools all right back to back.
So, that's going to be interesting for us, but I'm excited about it. I mean, why do you do that? If you don't get excited and have these challenges in front of you, why do you do this job? Right. You don't, if I wanted a regular job, I guess I'd go get one because this is far from regular.
Right. Yeah. Now, talk a little bit about the impact players you've got going into this year. Like I said, you got a few of them here tonight. Talk about some of the guys that are going to make big impacts and what you expect to see out of them.
We've got some guys that are returning starters for us. We've got Dylan Prater, played quarterback for us last year. He can do so many things, and I'm excited about him. We've talked about him being on defensive back. Matter of fact, I met with him last week and told him, I said, you're going to have to play defensive back, regardless of whatever else. Right. You've got to. You may have to play some receiver. You'll play quarterback. I said, you're going to have a lot of different things and a lot of different roles. We talked about him as we met last week about being a kick returner. Just because he offers a lot of things. He's fast, explosive, and the thing that he's got that we have the least amount of right now is football IQ. I'm coaching these young kids in the secondary right now, and they're busting coverages in practice.
Right.
And I'm going, how can I get this kid ready for a Friday night game? Well, it's just experience. So right now we're going to lean on some kids that are on maybe the offensive side of the ball, having to play some on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
Because I told them, you don't want to be standing on the sideline your senior year and be behind, and you could make us better playing a different position. At times, it won't be that way all year, but I said, you need to be ready to play and able to play. So, we return his athleticism back and his football IQ. Cam Foster's with us today, defensive end, anchors our defensive line. Very coachable kid, excited. He had a very good junior year last year, getting some offers. Dylan's gotten offers as well. Cam's getting offers and starting to get a lot of looks. So very excited about him as well. He brings some leadership and things we're looking for defensively. You know,
he's got some explosiveness off the ball.
And experience. You know, he knows what it looks like. Jalen Browder's coming back. Jalen can do a lot of things for us. You know, Jalen played exclusively receiver last year and stepped in there a few times at quarterback. Well, this year he'll do a lot of the same things, you know, so he's explosive. Every time he touches a ball, anything can happen with him. So, you know, we're going to lean on those guys for playmaking ability and leadership on our team. You know, and we'll just see how it goes from there. We've got some others that I really think Darnell McCarty on the offensive line.
Right.
He's an anchor for us on the offensive line.
He's your returning starter from last year, right?
You know, we got a lot of babies down through there.
Right.
You know, we have high hopes for, you know, some of those young offensive linemen to come on. Andy Ellis is having a great summer so far, and Nate O'Neill. You know, those guys are having great seasons so far. Andy Poss is returning. He played some last year and will play a lot this year. I don't know that he started last year at all, but he played, you know, and got in games. Right. So, you know, we're excited about it, and we'll just see what happens.
Real quick, talk a little bit about your new region, how it kind of falls out, and who, you know, of course, like I was talking to Coach Spence earlier.
It's going to be one of the toughest regions I've ever been in, and that includes, you know, my time in South Georgia. I remember when I went to Irwin County, I had Clinch County, who's won multiple state championships, Wilcox County won multiple state championships, Charlton County, who's won multiple state championships. That was the region I was in. This region is just like that. We're going into a region with Carrollton, you know, one of the top schools in the state, city school.
Right.
You got Rome, another
City
one.
school.
They've been sitting a sleeper, in my opinion, for the last few years that I really think is going to explode. And, you know, when you're at a city school, I mean, I hate to use this word, but you can recruit all you want, and Carrollton's getting the best kids in the Carroll County area. Rome's getting the best kids in the Rome area, and you know, I don't want to say it's easy. Let me put this in the right words. It's easier to replace those kids that just left your program when you got them coming in. And I don't want to take anything away from those programs and coaches, but city schools have a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, and you know, then you look at all the other Paulding schools that are here with us, and you know, it's going to be quality football. And Kell, which is across the board, they've had a great playoff run and our runs in the past. So, you know,
you're not going to have an off week.
There's really not. You know, you better be ready every Friday night. And, you know, a 4 seed in our region can probably beat some 1 seeds in other regions. It's going to be that kind of year.
I feel that too. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. We'll be seeing you throughout the year, of course, and we want to get you back for another show of Inside Georgia High School Football as the season moves along. And good luck the rest of the season with East Paulding.
Appreciate it.
That's Coach John Lindsay, the head coach for East Paulding football. We'll be right back with Coach Ed Koester next. All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside Georgia High School Football. We're here now with the head coach from South Paulding High School, Coach Ed Koester. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, man, good.
Thanks for coming on. So tell me a little bit about your coaching background. I know you started out in Texas. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up coming from Texas to Georgia and what you did out in Texas.
Well, I started coaching so long ago. Adam and Eve were on a team. This will be my 39th year of coaching high school football. It'll be my 40th year in education. Started coaching in Texas, played ball at Texas Tech, and started coaching, working my way up through the ranks. And of course, you know, there was a time in this sport when you were coaching, if you wanted to move up, you moved.
Right.
And so we, you know, chased that head coaching job, and ended up in Oklahoma where I got my first head coaching job. I was the head coach of the smallest school in Oklahoma playing 11-man football. The superintendent handed me the keys, went over and looked at the field house, which was the old gymnasium, and opened the door, and I said, good grief, I'm a head coach, but head coach of what?
Right.
My wife we had to cut off old football pants and sew them up so we had shorts for the kids to wear for workouts. So it was a small school. So anyways, that's kind of bumped around in Texas for a while. You know, this sport's one of those deals, and this business is one of those deals. Every now and then you get exiled, and that's sent us here to Georgia, and we've had we really loved it here. It's been a much better experience for us, and had a great time. And
where'd you end up at first when you came to
Georgia? When I first came here, I came to Cherokee High School. Took the job at Cherokee in '98. They had 17 kids left on the football team from the year before, and they were trying to play 5A football at that time. And, well, at that time I think it was 4A. And we got 56 out that first year, And then the third year there, I had 115 kids in the program.
So
And
built it back up.
it was a good experience.
Then you ended up at South Cobb for a while.
I was at
correct?
South Cobb there for 7 years with Derek Cook.
Right.
And Derek does a great job. I was there for 2 years as an assistant, and he left to go to Cal. And I got the head coaching job there, and really had a good run. It was a real struggle early to get things going, and we finally had the right combination of athletes and coaches, and in fact won the first playoff game in the school's history there.
Oh, really? That's surprising.
It
For
is.
that school to be around that long.
The school was established in '45, and they'd been to the playoffs a few times, but had never won a playoff game. And we were able to beat Windsor Forest in, I guess, my fourth year there, and that kind of got us going, and it was a good experience.
Kind of like the Altoona being the first Cobb County team to win a state
Yeah,
championship.
exactly.
You know, when you stopped and thought about that, it's like, wait a second. So you've got Wheeler and Marion
Yeah.
and Walton and all these programs, and Altoona's the first Cobb County state champion. So
Right.
it kind of shows you those things don't just grow on trees.
No, exactly.
They're hard to come by, that's for
Exactly.
sure. So you came to South Paulding. You've had, I hate to put it this way, but it is what it is. You've had instant success at South Paulding. Came there, did a great job your first season. You had a real successful run in county games. I think that currently you're the only coach that's not lost to East Paulding, right? You beat
Correct.
East Paulding each time you played them.
Right.
Talk a little bit about your teams the past couple of years. Some of the key players for you and your experience coaching in Paulding County.
Well, I was fortunate to come in at the right time, and I think, anything you do in life anymore, timing's everything.
Right.
And Coach Clanton had done a great job. The table was set. Of course, we had to add a few ingredients and what have you. I think we moved to a more wide open spread offense at the right time. Chandler Burks, who will be a great contributor for him at Kennesaw State, and Jay Bowen, who was a tremendous running back, and Winslow Adger, who is our offensive tackle. All those kids all playing at Kennesaw State. Clea Hackett, who's playing at Arkansas. All those kids were on that team, so it was easy to look like a great coach at the right time. But it's great. Great players make great coaches, and we were fortunate to be there at the right time. We won 10 games, a 10-win season. Had never been done there. Our trouble is we met up with the kid at Clemson in Gainesville at the second round of the playoffs. Last year at the national championship game, I was complaining to the networks they should be interviewing me. I was the only coach to play against both the Drake and the quarterback at Watson for Clemson.
Right, because Drake was at Hillgrove.
He was at Hillgrove when I was at South Cobb.
Right.
But anyways, we had some, like we said, we've had some great kids. My hat's off to a great group of assistant coaches that are there with us there at South Paulding, and to accept me right off the bat, to not worry about who's doing this and who's doing that, and really buy in, and can we talk to kids all the time about buying in? Be totally committed. These guys have done that, and everything I've asked to do, did a great job of instructing the kids, and we're really proud of those accomplishments. And then the next year, back up again, where we were worried going into that year, and we ended up with an 8-win season. Thought we had Mays beat, and turned the ball over 3 times in the third quarter, and that hurt us. And then come back again last year with an 8-win regular season, won the first playoff game, or another playoff game there at home, the first round, and then second round game didn't go so fair for us. Drew showed up, had a heck of an offensive line and some tremendous skill kids.
Right.
We were up 17, then their band showed up and it was all over with.
Once the band showed up, okay. Now, so last year was kind of a crazy year for everybody in that region. Have you ever been involved in a situation where you had a 3-way tie for second place at 8-2?
No, I guess not really that not right offhand.
Right.
We've been involved in some ties in Oklahoma as it come down to point differentials and what have you like that. We felt like we had the inside seat on the doggone region championship, and then we let Paulding County slip up on us. So that kind of threw things in the works, but
Threw it to East. East had a chance for it, and they let Alexander win.
Right.
In the end, Altoona pulled it off.
It was quite a deal there, and I think it speaks well for the caliber of football in Paulding County. I think it speaks well for the caliber of coaches that we have here in Paulding County. I think all the coaches here do a great job working with the kids, not only coaching football, but coaching life skills and teaching kids to be better people, and that's why we do what we do.
Right.
I'm real impressed with the coaches in our county, and our county should be grateful that of who they are and what the effect they're having on kids today in our county.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the new region that you're moving into. It's not a cupcake region, that's for sure, right?
No,
Tell me a little bit about it.
It's definitely not. I'm not sure who we made mad down at GHSA. I'm not sure what all took place on that deal, but when the new classifications came out, it obviously left North Paulding and us alone.
Right.
And North went up and we stayed the same, and the other three were able to go down, and that just put us in a situation where because of Dalton falling in the deal, there was no place to send us. Had Dalton been a different class, then we could have went that way. Instead, we're down with the Douglas County schools and then the South Fulton schools and Clayton schools. An extremely tough region. Northgate, semifinalist last year's in the region. Got the state's leading rusher from last year back this year. Langston Hughes would be a class act. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the nation at their place. And then Mays, Coach Jarvis does a great job over there. Of course, we played them off their feet and then didn't quite get it done a few years ago. Coach Combs over at Alexander has a strong program. And then, DC will be improved, and New Manchester has a new coach, what to look for. So no, there's no off weeks. There's no weeks to relax. Right. No time to take a breath. It's going to be Katie Bartador starting tomorrow morning.
Now, talk a little bit about some of your key players. We got some of them here tonight going into the season. Who all you're going to have step up? What do you think the key is to this season?
Well, our big thing is we've got some exceptional skill kids, and we've got the most untried line in the state, I think. We lost 18 out of 22 starters off of last year's team, and the thing about those 18 starters we lost, they were contributors as sophomores, and then they were the catalysts as juniors, and then they carried the load as a senior. Our team coming this year has never had to carry the load. Right. The offensive linemen and linebacker core and defensive line that we're working with right now have never had to carry the wagon. They were good, solid practice kids for a couple of years, but now it's their turn to shoulder the burden. And so it's been a learning process for them this summer to actually learn, what is it like to have my name called out on Friday night? What does it actually take? So that's going to be a real growing process, and we don't have a lot of time to grow. When we took our kids up to Fort Bluff in Tennessee this last week for 3 days and tried to make it pretty tough on them to get them the idea that that's where they've got to come through. But we're very fortunate in having Michael Carter, who's a tremendous kid, a great student, a great athlete. Had offers from everybody from Clemson, Mississippi State, to almost everybody in the ACC and half the SEC, and chose to go to Duke, which I think is a great fit for him. Great kid, academics priority, and Coach Cutcliffe and that group, I think he'll really blossom there. We also have a wide receiver by the name of Cam Weiss, who I really think is another Division I type player, and he's getting some looks right now, and that's a tough position to recruit to, because some guys want him taller, some want him smaller, and but he'll end up on his feet. I think he's probably a mid-major kid, and he'll end up there. We have Jordan Anderson, a sophomore kid, who's also getting some looks in the same atmosphere that Michael did when he was that age. Right. So we really have some good skilled kids. Question is can we protect Jake Gravitt, who will be our quarterback, who's green, who hasn't played under the Friday night lights yet.
He was your JV quarterback last year, right?
Jake comes through and plays within himself, gets the ball to the right people at the right time. I think we'll be all right. Right. We've challenged our offensive coordinator, Josh Carmichael, who's done a wonderful job over the years, but we've challenged him to come up with an offense that scores points without blocking people.
That's the Tony Franklin system,
isn't it? He's done a great job with that. And then Coach Joe Scott, who heads up our defense, we're having to kind of evolve defensively to make up for a lack of defensive linemen, and he's taking on that challenge and challenging our kids to fly around the football and then get there when they're kind of angry.
Okay, so y'all be still running the spread, Tony Franklin type offensive setup. Okay. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on tonight. Best of luck this year for South Paulding. We want to have you on later in the season as the season progresses. Talk a little bit about how things are going, and we appreciate it.
We'd love to have you, and I'd like to talk a minute if you give me a chance to put in a plug. We're forming an organization here, the Paulding County Coaches Association, and we'll be picking Players of the Week each week for each school. Have a little get together about mid-season and announce those Players of the Week, and have another one at the end of the season, and then at the end of the year have a large countywide banquet for a county football team that is representative of all of our teams and picked by our coaches. We look forward to getting that off the ground, and any help you guys can be in that, we'd love to have.
We'd love to host it. I mean, we could do the same kind of production and host it. We'd love to be involved in that.
Very
Coach.
good.
All right, Coach. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Nice talking to you. That's
Good
Coach
talking to
Ed
you.
Koester from South Paulding High School. We'll be back with our last coach for the night, Coach Chris Brown from Hiram, after this short break. Welcome back again to Inside Georgia High School Football. We're interviewing the last of our 5 Paulding County coaches today, Coach Chris Brown from Hiram High School. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now, tell me a little bit about your coaching background. I know you played football at West Georgia, but tell me how you progressed into coaching and a little bit about your coaching background.
Well, I actually started coaching when I was a young man. As soon as I got done playing college football with an 8th grade program at Pebblebrook High School in Cobb County.
Okay.
My first high school job, I was a running backs coach at Alexander High School. One of my good friends that I played high school football with and played football with in college, Tim Barron, was a head coach, and he got me my first job coaching high school football, doing running backs there at Alexander. When I finally finished my degree, which took me a while, I took my first job at Hiram High School. Stayed there for 1 year under Coach Tom O'Boyle, coached his linebackers, and left the following year and went to McEachern for 4 years working under Jimmy Dorsey and coached his defensive backs. Then I was fortunate enough to get back to Hiram under Andy Dorsey, Coach Jimmy Dorsey's son. Took a job as Andy Dorsey's defensive coordinator and stayed that for 7-8 years, and then when he left and became the athletic director at our school, I became the head football coach.
Okay. So you spent a lot of time with Hiram High School so far.
I have, yes, sir. I guess I'm entering my 12th year at Hiram High School.
Now, when you were coaching with Coach O'Boyle, was that when Chris was playing at the Hiram Cougars? Is that during that time frame?
Yes, yeah.
Because I remember Coach O'Boyle, y'all all came out, ran our camp.
Yeah.
We started running Coach O'Boyle's offense at the rec level.
Yep.
So those were good times back then.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about some of the ups and downs in your coaching. And, Hiram High School, you've had some good years over the past 10 years, but then a couple struggles in between. Tell me about some of those ups and downs and,
Well, it's kids, and certainly you're going to have the ups and downs, and your talent level fluctuates year to year as it does with any school. And so we've had a few down years here lately, so we're trying to battle our way through and get it back up. I did okay a couple years ago, and but went 3-7 last year and struggled with it again. Had went 1-9 3 years ago, but we feel like good times are to come. I feel like our school, over the course of year in and year out standards, we traditionally have good football players at our school.
Right.
And I feel like we've had a few. We've had the ball bounced the wrong way a few times, and we've not taken advantage of some things that could have easily made 3-7 into 6-4, 7-3.
Right.
And so, but that's why you play the game. You got to go out there and execute and take advantage of some of the opportunities that are given to you.
Now you have some good talent coming up. I know that I believe it's your sophomore class. That was a very strong middle school team that I remember. So I know you got a real strong sophomore class. Talk a little bit about your junior and senior class and those guys.
Well, our junior class is actually a very talented class as well. My senior class is actually the first class that was my first class as a head coach. They were freshmen.
Right.
All along, I felt like they were a tremendous group as far as character goes, and certainly for most people that sit in my seat, in the head coaching seat, you understand the importance of character and what that can do as far as taking a group of players and making them a good team.
Right.
And so I've always been looking forward to this group and this senior class and their time as seniors, because I knew they were young, they had good character, and I knew when they got to be seniors with that character, they had an opportunity to lead, and then all of a sudden get all the kids going in the right direction. Now my junior class, I feel like they're as talented a class as we've had roll through Hiram. Now, our sophomore class we feel very good about too, but our junior class has got a couple of kids in it that are, going to be really special. None of the least is the Marcel Murray, the tailback kid, who is really a special guy. Also got a couple of linebackers in that class, and Kevin Cole and Isaiah Wilmere, who I think have a chance to be as good as any linebackers we've had. And we've sent a lot of linebackers on to play college football, so we feel like we have a good tradition of linebackers at our school. And,
right.
And these two juniors that I think have a chance to walk right in there and be with the just the best of the ones we've already have had.
Now, how many seniors did y'all lose? Senior starters did y'all lose last year?
6 senior starters.
So
we had 3 on either side of the ball. At times we had a 4th, on either side of the ball.
So you're probably, talking to all the Paulding County coaches, you're probably in the best position as far as losing senior talent and not being so young. It sounds like you've got some good returning guys
we played
back.
A lot of young kids last
Right.
year. I mean, we did. We played a lot of young kids. Our quarterback, Nathan Presnell, was actually a freshman last year.
Right.
And he's coming back and has done a lot of good things. And he's still young,
Right.
but he's not as young a sophomore as some of the sophomores they'll have to play, because we actually played him a lot as a freshman.
And it
if
doesn't
that
hurt
makes
to be
any sense.
6'5", 6'6" a quarter.
Yeah, that helps a little bit too.
Just a little
That
bit.
does help a little bit, but
And he's a coach's son, so you got a kid. Even though he's a freshman, he's been playing football all his life, and he's a coach's son. That makes a big difference. Makes it easier for him to step in.
the kid who started for us at quarterback last year, Brody Lester, has actually flipped over to the other side of the ball and is starting for us at free safety right now.
Right.
And what a blessing that's been, because now all of a sudden you really have that quarterback on the defensive side of the field from a coverage standpoint that can communicate with people. And he's a baseball kid too, has great ball skills, and so we're excited about him on the other side. And he's played enough football that if something happened to us, we still have depth at quarterback. We feel very comfortable that he could step in and play quarterback at any time, in any situation as the season goes along. So
we'll talk a little bit about your key players. You got a couple of them here tonight. Let's talk a little bit about the key guys going into next year that are going to be your big playmakers and kind of lead the team going into this coming season.
Well, the first guy that I brought here with me tonight, key, is Mackenzie Lemon. Mackenzie's a 3-year starter for us on the offensive line. He's been, without a doubt, our best lineman the last couple of years, just in the ability to come off the ball and grind and get people moved. Just a road grader type kid. He can get it done. We need him to be great. We really do. We've got what we feel like are 2 really good running backs, and we need our offensive line to be good. And in order for our offensive line to be good, Mackenzie's got to be great.
Okay.
He's
the anchor.
Yes, we need that from him. Everything he's done to this point proves to us that he can be great.
Right.
And at times he has really done some special things on film, and you'll see him in games do really, really good things. We need that start to finish. As long as we can keep playing this game, if it was all the way into week 15, we're going to count on Mackenzie to go out there and get it done for us every game and be one of those guys that we can show on film to the other guys. Look, see what he's doing, see how he's coming off. So we need that example setter, and so that's huge for us. We need Mackenzie Lemon to be great for us. We really do. We need him to be great. The other guy I brought with me is Elijah Harrison. He's a returning senior running back for us. And I mentioned Marcel Murray earlier. Elijah Harrison has carried the ball a lot more for us than Marcel has, and Elijah's been that steady enforce in our backfield since he came to us his sophomore year. He actually moved to us his sophomore year, and I guess he was here for 3 weeks before he earned a starting position.
Right.
And it was one of those, every kid on our team wanted him to be the starter, which is not usually the case with a move-in.
It wasn't like, the new guy come in, he didn't need a starting spot. I was like, we need to get this guy on the field.
What we're hoping for out of Elijah, we feel very comfortable that he's going to be an excellent running back for us. We feel very confident that he's going to be an excellent linebacker for us. We're going to play him at linebacker as much as his body will hold up and will allow him to play at linebacker, we need him to be that leader for us.
Right.
He is the kind of person, I know the young people out there won't remember, but he's a E.F. Hutton guy. When he speaks,
People listen.
people listen. You know, I mean, he does. That's what he brings to the table. He's a fantastic kid from a character standpoint, from a work ethic standpoint, from a commitment standpoint, and we just need him to be that encourager in that locker room, that guy that steadies the ship for us if things start getting rocky. We need that, but we need that vocal leader out of him. We need him to step up and tell people, look, this is where we're going, and you need to get on board and go with us.
Well, we talked a little bit to Coach Spence from Paulding County and Coach Lindsay about the new region and how it's a pretty tough region that we're going into with the 3 teams from Paulding County. Tell me a little bit about your feelings on the new region and some of the opponents we'll be facing.
Well, it's a yin and a yang. I mean, obviously, it would be nice if you were in a weaker region, you know, afford yourself an opportunity to go in, you know, and compete for a region championship. And I truly believe in order to make a big-time run in the playoffs, you need to be a region winner. You can do it as a region runner-up. Very, very difficult to do it as a 3 or a 4 seed. Mm-hmm. So obviously, winning the region means a lot toward actually pushing toward a state championship, which I think
Just
every coach in our county,
right?
yeah, it makes a difference. So getting the new region, I think, hurts a little bit in that aspect. You're going to have to be on point. The great thing about it is, well, there's a couple of points that are awesome. One is you got to show up and play every Friday night.
Right.
And that's fun. It's fun. It's more fun. It's easier to get yourself mentally prepared to go out there and play a quality opponent than it is to go out there and play somebody who's not a quality opponent.
Right.
I mean, it really is.
The energy's not the same.
Right. It's not. And so it's real easy for me to get my kids up to go play South Paulding High School. That's easy because they've been a good football team. East Paulding High School been a good football team, and Paulding has the last couple of years. So it's easy for me to gear myself up, you know, to go play those guys because they're quality. And you tag in Rome and Carrollton and Cale, and all of a sudden now we've got a really, really, really tough region. Now, if you make it out of our region, now all of a sudden being in such a tough region, if you go out as a number 3, there's a good chance you can make a run from a number 3 spot. We've seen folks down there in the largest region in Class 1, the Valdosta Lowndes and Copeland and all those. We've seen guys out of that region make runs from a number 3 seed or a number 4 seed.
Because they're still a real good team.
Yes, because it's a quality team.
Right.
And the only reason they're 3 or 4 is because they lost to a very much a good quality team. And that'll be the same case in our region. There'll be a chance now for your 4 seed to go out there and upset somebody's number 1. We got a chance to have 4 quality football teams. And with that, if we can make pushes as a region, especially with it being a 4-year region cycle, if we can make pushes from the 3 and the 4 seed, then I think it'll afford us an opportunity in this area to get a lot of recognition in the state. People will realize that our region's good, and then if you do well in your region, you get some of those accolades that go along with being, you know, number 1, number 2 ranked in the state. Players get recruited, players get noticed, your school gets noticed, the publicity, right. Some of those things that are fun, I think, for schools and for kids.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I would say the past 3 or 4 years, I've seen more Paulding County players go D1 than I had seen in the previous 20 years I've lived in this county. Where Paulding County football, I think, is starting to hit the map. I think they're starting to see we've got some quality football teams out here playing football.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I think this region's only going to drive that more.
I agree.
Well, Coach, you know, we appreciate you coming on. We look forward to a great season for Hiram football. You know, you hold a special place in my heart, coaching your son for all those years. Yeah. But I wish you the best of luck, and thanks for coming on to Inside Georgia High School Football.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Mike.
That's Coach Chris Brown from Hiram High School. We're going to take a short break, and we'll go through our players that are here tonight, and that'll be the wrap up on the show after the players. Thank you. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.